So, yeah, we are live. So, you guys, everybody, we still got like 4 or 5 more minutes, but I've got part of my creep crew here. Right over here is Maddie and her mom, Tammy, and then down below is the scariest guy. Yeah, he's the one that brought us all here for all this nightmare shit. So speaking of nightmares, I've got my Jack Skellington on. I've got my Jack Skellington mug.
Yes.
Junior's got a really cool mug. Junior, show your mug. So yeah, I told him, I said, yeah, if I could only end up in one of your novels, yeah, I would. Yeah, I would probably be killed first, but hopefully not. So
well, I think you last a while. You last a while.
What was that? What was that?
You would last for a while. The torture.
I would hope so.
Torture.
I would hope so. So, everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Richard. I'm the host of Nightmares Anyone. As you guys know, yes, it is Tuesday, December 13th. Perfect day of the week. Could we not agree anymore, you guys?
I'll take it.
Yeah. 13. Yeah, 13 is a great number. So, I'm going to be talking to A. Lopez Jr. or Junior, as a lot of you know him by, on his Ask Junior column. He is the author of so many of my favorite books, this being the first one. But you guys, this was his very first book. We're gonna talk to Junior about that in a second. And then we're going to talk about this, and yeah, we've just got a lot to ask him. So, so Junior, welcome to the channel. This is our second time we've done this. First time, you guys, it was kind of really screwed up. That was due to my part, but this time we all sound really good. We look good. We're not going to mess this one up. So,
looks good to me. Everything looks good.
It looks good to you, and yeah, Maddie. So as we were talking earlier, me and Junior were looking at pictures, everybody, of Maddie. Sir, what are you doing? I thought someone was passing gas. Did you guys hear that?
That was a growl. That was a growl.
Like one of those.
That was more of a growl.
There's nobody even out there, well, that we can see. So, yeah, you guys, we were looking at pictures. We were looking at a picture of Maddie dressed as Wednesday Addams for Halloween. And Junior, can you believe it's been, wow, you just made your 11-year mark on publishing.
Yep, that's right.
So congratulations,
Thank
dude.
You. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. So I've already got questions here. So Zero, you have to stop. Okay, this ain't gonna work, Zero. You need to go away. So Andy asks, she said, so AJ, what scares you and why?
It's a good question. For me, I think what scares me is the unknown. That you can think about a lot of things. Things in your head that will scare you, but the things that you can't see, are things in the darkness. That's what scares me. So even though I write this stuff, something that I can't see is what scares me. So I try to put that into my writing for you.
Is there really an unknown though? I mean,
well, you look down a dark hall.
I think our entire lives are unknown.
Well, yes, and that's scary. And that's scary in a way. But for me, it's the dark hall where I can't see what's at the end of the hallway. And then my mind starts going, and either it's going to end up in a book, or I'm going to end up like you, Richard. I'm going to be running to the light. So whichever way you want.
Oh, you don't want to go to the light, Carol Ann? You don't want to go to the light. Yeah, you don't want to. I don't know if you want to go to the light, but so. Okay, who's joking with me? Who's got the ghosts in their house? Maddie, was that you thumping, bumping?
It wasn't you?
Did you guys hear that?
No.
Hang on.
I'm just messing with you, Richard. I'm messing with you.
Oh God, Junior, don't do that shit. It hasn't even been long enough yet. You're gonna give me yeah, I already get nightmares from your stuff. So
Well, you see, that was the unknown that scared you.
oh, there you go. Yeah,
was.
my life is quite unknown. I've got a cat sitting right here, snoring next to me. I've got yeah. So let's get into this. So we have got Kelly Cyberling. Welcome to the live chat. Kelly says she's really excited for this. Junior, Kelly's a newer viewer. She I don't think she's ever read your stuff because she's a big chicken. She's scared of I don't mean she's a big chicken, but she does not like horror. She does not like horror, but she is gonna be there for the support of the chat tonight.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, so welcome, Kelly. It's good to see you. I was going to send you a little pop-in invite, Kelly, but I didn't. I forgot. I forgot. So it says, wow, I've got a lot of questions actually here. Tom Rodriguez says, scariest movie. That's a good one because I told you we were going to bring up horror movies.
Yeah. So for me, it's really simple. The Exorcist that's the one that scares me the most.
Oh, I just watched.
That's one of those where I only needed to watch it one time, and that was enough for me.
But you've seen it more than once, right?
Yes, I have seen it more than once, and it gets worse every time for me.
It does get worse, and I think it gets worse as we get older. Don't you agree?
Yes, I think that you're exactly right.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
And
we think differently, you know.
We do think differently. And have you ever read the book?
No, I've not read the book.
You've never read the book?
I feel like if I read the book, it's just going to take me deeper into that world. I can write about it, but I really don't want to live it. So, The Exorcist for me.
The book is more, you know that when William Peter Blatty published it, he published it meant to be as a crime novel, right? More of a crime.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when you read it now as an adult, I remember reading it in 1974, and I was like 13 years old. Everybody was reading it, and especially in school. I think I was like 7th or 8th grade, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, you're reading The Exorcist! Go to page 125." Well, yeah, we all knew the page. 125 was that famous scene with her and that item of religious. It was pretty offensive. But I just watched it again yesterday. It's kind of funny because with all these holiday horror movies out right now, there's the Mean One, which I talked to Tammy and Maddie a couple weeks ago. It's playing here in Sacramento, and it's only playing at Regal Cinemas. I don't know why, but the guy that plays in it, he plays the Grinch. He's the same guy that played Art the Clown. Have you seen the Terrifier movies?
Wait.
I've seen the first Terrifier. Yes, the first.
You did see the first Terrifier. Yeah, the second one. Maddie, you guys saw it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. The second one was really, really bad. Horrible story. It's almost 3 hours long, which was a little bit too much. But Junior, can you believe it's been 11 years? And
no.
Did you ever think actually, yeah, somebody, did you ever dream that you would be here 11 years later after Purgatory?
No, when I wrote that, I didn't think that far ahead. I was just in the moment. I just wanted to write my first book. So that was a process in its own. So thinking 11 years ahead, there's no way I would have thought that I would have still been writing. But it went so fast that it's kind of a blur in between. So I guess to answer that question, no, I didn't look that far ahead, but being here 11 years later, it's reality. So I'm just going to go with it, and just keep on writing.
Yeah. Purgatory is very different. So welcome, Michael Lopez. Michael's here, and he says actually The Ring and The Conjuring are his scariest movies. The Ring, I don't know. I like the original. I do like The Grudge way better than the American version of The Ring, but The Conjuring is still a great movie. I know Tammy loves that movie.
Yes.
And Junior, you know Tammy as well as I do.
Yeah.
And we know that Tammy's one of those.
She's not afraid.
She's not afraid, and she will go. She will go into those places. Not me. It's like Junior, like you said, scared of the unknown. I'm not. Yeah, I don't think I would go into it. But
here's another thing: is if it's one thing to walk in there, but if you're taking pictures, you have to look at those pictures later, and you don't know what's going to pop up on those. So
I've had that happen before.
You have?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, that's another of the unknown. I don't want to see that in the picture. Tell me about it. I'll write about it, but I don't want to see it. That's
Tammy, tell Junior about the headstone incident in the one photo you sent me.
So we had put some flowers on my dad's grave, and well, to tell you the story though, my two sisters were buried with my father, so there's three of them on the headstone. And we had put pictures on the tombstone, and I went to take a picture. And when I got home, I realized that my dad's face was inside of the tombstone, looking back at me.
Wow! So that's what I'm talking about.
Know he was with me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good incident there, but like that one turned out good, but you know what I'm saying. That can happen. So
right. No, I've got some other pictures that has some showed up. So yeah, I'm all for going into places. I love it. The scarier, the better.
Nope.
I don't mind the research, but I probably wouldn't do it alone. That's for sure.
See, and that's what I know. That's what cracks me up about horror authors. It's like you wouldn't think that this stuff would scare you guys.
Well, I wouldn't mind going to do research or something like that. Spend the night in a haunted house, and pull the vibe in off of that. I don't object to that, but that's another one of those unknowns. So in that moment, how would I react? I don't know. But if I stayed the night, I think I would come out a better writer after that, just for that part.
Ooh, I don't know. That's kind of I don't know. I think I would do it. I just I'm really a big chicken shit when it comes to all that stuff. Yeah, so Alex, I'm talking to Alex. Alex actually lives in Canada, so he has read all of your stuff. He's got one of your books signed. He says, Richard, I do have a copy of, hang on. I can't read what he's writing. He's a gamer, so he's probably, he actually says he has a signed copy of Purgatory, and I've read Purgatory 3 or 4 times, and he says, in this scary imagination shared with anyone, either dead or otherwise. Is this scary imagination shared with anyone? So I think what he's asking, and which quite a few people have asked me, is Junior married? Does he have a family? I know, and I know it says in the back of your bio, and it's on the bio channel of yours, but anybody in your daily life, do they have they experienced this stuff? Do they believe, do they read your stuff? Are they fans of your stuff? And I've always wanted to ask you, do you have kids?
Yeah, I have 3 sons. They all live in Texas. They're grown. Actually, the Michael Lopez is my son, the one that chimed in on the chat. So he tuned in. He knew I was going to be on here, so he tuned in on it.
Yeah.
So I have 3 boys. They're all grown now. They're adults, but they're still my kids. So
that Michael Lopez.
Yep, that one right there. Yep.
Okay, that makes
he's a mix
sense.
So, well, I haven't had any experiences with my family, but the book that I'm writing now is an experience of a lady that had experiences with her mom, and I've talked to her over the years and kind of interviewed her and things. So I'm taking that story, and according to her, she has the gift of sight that she can see things, shadows. Her mother had that, and it kind of transferred over to her. So I've taken that story and I'm turning that into, truthful fiction. And that's the closest that I've been to someone that has that seeing undead or seeing shadow figures and things like that. So talking to her, when I was talking to her, even though I'm taking notes, I did get a chill a time or two of what she was saying because I believed what she was telling me. So that'll be on my next book next year, first part of next year.
Wow. So I remember reading in the back of one of the books, I can't remember what it was, but I remember reading that you want to branch out into other genres. You're not going to leave horror, though, are you? I mean,
No, never. I'm always going to be in that. So when I write on another side of different genres and things like that, it might be under a different name. It might be under Junior Lopez instead of A. Lopez Jr. But A. Lopez Jr. is going to be strictly horror, maybe a little thriller, something like that, but suspense. But I'm never going to leave horror, so don't worry about that one.
Yeah, good for that. Good for that.
Never. So
how old were you when you wrote your first piece? And do you remember? I mean, not piece, but even a story. Whereas, Maddie's a good example. Maddie draws and she paints really creepy images. In fact, you and I, we talked about this in the last interview, and I showed the pictures. But do you remember how old you were when you first wrote your first scary story? Like, were you in elementary school? Were you just writing a story, or did you tell it verbally to friends? And what was it about? Do you remember what it was even about?
Well, as far as writing, I really didn't put anything down as far as writing until 2009, 2010, when I started messing around with Purgatory or ideas for it. But I've always liked to tell scary stories and storyteller. So as far as horror goes, I just was more talk than writing. So it wasn't until, 11, 12 years ago that I started writing, actually writing. When I was in high school, I wrote what I thought was going to be a screenplay for a movie, but it wasn't horror. It was just about life in the streets and things like that. So I wrote this whole script, and I had a playlist or a soundtrack for it. And I don't have those papers anymore, but that was, I guess you could say that's when I got the writing bug. But then transferred years later, it turned into horror, but many years later.
So it's kind of funny that you even brought up the writing thing, because to people that are watching, so see this logo here, everybody, right there. Junior is the creator of Ace. It is Ace Hill Link or Ace High Link.
Ace Hill Link. But
he has his own publishing company, and Tammy's a good she knows all about that because her books have been published under you. But when you I've had a lot of people ask me just in phone calls or it's just like, Richard, how does somebody start this? I mean, when you sit down and write something, do you in fact, you and I talked about this before, do you prefer to write, what's it called? First person, second person?
First person, third person?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't even know one from the other. I don't even really think.
Well, first person is when you're talking from your own mind. Like, I'm just telling you what I'm going through. A third person is where you're telling the story from a distance, and you're telling things that are happening in the story. As far as me writing, to me, it's easier to write in first person because you feel like you're speaking from your own mind, and it's easier to tell it that way. A third person is harder because you really have to take all the angles that go with it. But I think stories are better if you can nail it from the third person. They're just a better story. You can paint a better picture from the third person, I think, if you can do it well.
Yeah. I'm sitting here talking to, I don't know what Alex is telling me, but he's instant messaging me something. But Josh lives in Colorado, and he goes by the Bloodmonger on YouTube in his comments and stuff. But he says he just asked me. He said, well, I'll just type in. He said, has there ever been a time when you felt death near you? Where were you at the time? That's a good question, because I was just going to ask. You that.
I'm not sure on that one.
I don't know if he means death or just like.
It could be a bad vibe, maybe something like that, or looking over your shoulder. I know I've been afraid in different times when I was writing Night Dreams. I had to do a lot of research for exorcisms and things like that. And there were times when I would be at nighttime writing right where I'm sitting now, and the rest of the house was dark, and I got a chill. And maybe it was because of the research, because I was researching the prayers that priests will do for exorcisms. Mm-hmm. And they won't publish this one part of the prayers online, or it's hard to find that because you're just not supposed to say that unless you're trained in that. So in that situation, I felt not death, but I felt like something was there, and I had to stop writing for that night. So that's about as close as I could get with that.
So
it was creepy.
So ask Michael, are you still there? I'm now I sound like the psychic in that old movie, The Changeling, with George C. Scott. I'm talking to. Well, Michael Lopez, are you still in the scene? But if you're still in here, I want to ask you something. Growing up with this man, what was it like to, especially when your dad published his first book? What was it like growing up with him? Was your dad the type of man that would just scare the hell out of you kids when you were little, or did he kind of keep the scary nightmare stories, to himself? Because of course, him being your dad, yeah, he had to have been the one that, if you guys were to ever have nightmares, he had to be the one that you guys ran to. So if you're still there, drop a little comment, because I've always wondered what it would be like to have a parent, either a mother or a father, or two mothers or two fathers, but one being an author of horror. But Christy Randazzo's in here, so Junior, we know Christy. Christy and Tammy. It's like Maddie. I don't know what Maddie, what are you playing with? It looks like a cockatiel.
It's the cat.
Oh, it's the cat. See, I took my glasses off, so it's like, God, I'm blind as a bat. Oh, it is the cat.
It's Poppy.
Oh, it's the cat. She's got a huge white cat, just like I do, Junior. Her cat's really, really big.
That's a nice cat.
Michael said he would spook us a lot, but kept the dark horror to himself mostly. But the dark horror, because your dad, I remember the first time I talked to your dad. Your dad was the first author, and I'm not saying this just because I have your dad in this interview. Your dad literally scared the hell out of me with Night Dreams. And I remember actually there was a scene in Night Dreams that scared me so bad. I actually was afraid to go to bed. But Tammy and everybody else that's out there, I know Josh and Alex have both read this. There's a story in here, and with it being Christmas time now, there is a story in Purgatory. I think I read it again last night, knowing that I was going to have you here in this chat. But where in the hell did you ever come up with Santa Claus? Now, you guys that have never read this book, Santa Claus, Junior Santa Claus isn't the CLAUS, it's CLAWS. And don't don't spoil anything, but I did want to ask you if I could read a little. There's a couple paragraphs out of Santa Claus that I want to read. But where in the hell did you come up with that story? Because I think you and I talked about this before. Remember in the 70s there was an old Hammer movie, The Tales from the Crypt, before the Crypt Keeper on Showtime or HBO. But there was that segment of the four tales of the killer Santa Claus that came in. And remember, Joan Collins was the mother. And did you watch that movie as a kid, or did you watch it as a teenager? Or
it was later on. I didn't see it as a kid. No.
Oh, you never saw it as a kid?
No.
So you never saw it like in the theaters at like a Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
So your version of Santa Claus, there's kind of a moral.
Yes.
There's kind of a moral to the story, but that scene where he is standing on the steps and he hears Santa Claus and he comes in. That scene is one of the best examples of Christmas and horror mingled so perfectly together.
Yeah.
Where did you come up with that? I mean, who writes about a Santa Claus like that?
Well, it kind of came in three different parts. So the farm part of it, where the boys were, okay, that was something that as a kid, when we'd go out to rural areas, there would be these farms and there would be this dog and this man that was real mean. So I took that element, put it in the story. I guess the way that Santa Claus is in this one was just like the other half, kind of like a Krampus type of thing. And I mixed that into it. And then I remember as a kid, there would be a preacher would be on TV, and it would be the whole thing about, he would be preaching with the Bible, repent and all this other. So I just remembered that.
Fire and brimstone.
Yeah, and I just put those three elements together and kind of outlined a little story, and that's what ended up coming up. And I love Christmas, but I also love the fact that the naughty or nice, and you have all those elements in that story. So when you read it, it kind of, you take it down its own path, looking back at your own childhood, maybe.
So when you wrote this book, I remember we talked about this in the last live chat we did. Mm-hmm. What would I know what my favorites are? I have three that really stand out, really, really, really good to me in Purgatory. But when you wrote that book, what was your favorite story? And I know isn't Floor 4 the longest one in the book?
Yes, yeah. That one ended up longer than I thought.
Yeah.
And maybe in hindsight, I should have taken it out and dropped something else in there. And Floor 4 is on its own now, but I kind of wrote myself in a corner in that one, and that's kind of why it ends that way in there. But so that's one of the favorites
for everybody. This one, this is the actual novel form.
Yeah, it turned into that. So
yeah, and
they all have different genesis of each story, but my favorite to me, and it might not be the best story, but my favorite one is A Road Trip.
Oh, where the guy takes the body back to
his brother. He goes and gets his brother in California, up in your area. He was up in your area where you live.
That was the one that made me cry, because the emotion, just the emotions of being behind that wheel and knowing who's behind you in the back of that vehicle, but what he goes through on that trip, just There's
a lot.
It was a lot. It was a lot of emotional horror, but yet it is one of my favorites. And it's funny because I'm talking. Sarah's here, and Sarah lives in. Sarah, where do you live? She lives in Alabama, and she just said, well, she said, ask. She's cracking me up. I'm too shy to get on camera. I don't want to get on camera, so you can ask him. Just ask Junior. I believe in the devil and I believe in God. And in Alabama, we are scared to death. Me still being an adult. Junior, do you believe that if you're bad, Krampus will come, or will the spirit of Christmas come through and save the day? I know it's like you're asking. Okay, she's yes. She's like, so do you believe in Krampus? I mean, you brought up Krampus earlier. Did you grow up knowing the tale of Krampus?
No, not really. When I wrote the story, I really wasn't thinking so much of that, but that's kind of how it turned into, I guess. When people read it, maybe that's what they'll think. But it was just about if you're bad, that's who's going to come for Christmas. If you're good, then you might get Santa. So, whether I believe that or not, I don't know. But when you read the story, you see what happens.
It's just Tammy sitting there laughing because Junior, you know as well as I do, Tammy lives in North Carolina, and it's like
yeah.
Tammy probably has some Christmas spirit that hops around in the woods. That
Yeah.
It's just I believe in the good old Santa Claus. I'm German, and I grew up with German grandparents. So as a little kid, I knew the tale of Krampusnacht and Krampus Night, and we grew up scared to death of Krampus. And then when the movie came out, when did that movie come out with Toni Collette? 6, 7, 8 years ago?
Maybe 5, 6.
Yeah, maybe
like
5, 6 years ago. Yeah. They did that movie so well that there's a couple scenes in Purgatory that, though they're not Christmas or holiday themed, they made me think of that movie Krampus, and it's just totally messed up. So where you guys are at, you're in God, I know you're in Arizona, but what city are you in?
Suburbs of Phoenix. So I'm in Gilbert.
Yeah. So you guys have a lot of Christmas displays, and it's just, is there anybody? I know you were born and raised in Texas, but and speaking of Texas, Alex is asking me, ask Junior if he's ever been by. I don't know where this. He said, ask Junior if he's ever been by the house that was filmed in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's actually a funny question.
Well,
because how old were you? What?
Well, if someone tells me where it is, I'll go there and look at it. But no, I haven't.
Yeah, and I think they actually bulldozed it and moved it. Now it's a isn't it a restaurant, Tammy, or something like that? It's a bed and it's not a bed and breakfast, but it's a breakfast and lunch restaurant and stuff. But they did move it to a different part of Texas. But when you,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, when you moved from Texas to Arizona, I've heard stories about Arizona. There's been a couple horror stories that stick out in my mind, like Beware of Thomas. It's an old story by Thomas Tryon, who wrote The Other, and he wrote it for adult magazines in the 70s, and it was a tale about a 9-year-old boy that moves to Arizona, and he witnesses a murder of an elderly lady down the street. And when I think of Arizona, I don't think of scary things, but I know there's got to be there's got to be scary things in Arizona. Do you live near anything? I know Tammy and them, they live in the woods. It's just like, I don't know if I would live. I don't know if I could do it. But Arizona, you always think of the sun and the heat, and you just,
Well, there's a lot of old Western towns, and I've been to one, but they're rumored to be haunted, with just from the past, like from the shootouts and everything else. But there's a city that's kind of northwest of here. It's called Jerome, Arizona, and it's built on a hill, and that is known for hauntings and ghosts and every paranormal activity there. It's an older town, and it's really pretty. It's up on a hill, and you can see it from a distance, and there's a lot of hauntings that go along there. So I think every state has their own, way about that. But if you consider the Western days, and the cowboys and everything else, there was a lot of death, not
a lot of causes. A lot of bloodshed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, have you ever, speaking of the cowboy days and stuff, have you ever read the book by, he's no longer with us anymore, but Michael McDowell had written a book called Katie. Did you ever read Katie?
No, I don't think I've heard of that one. Is it good?
Oh yeah. It was about it's about a young woman who, it's right after the time of Jack the Ripper, but yeah, when I think of Arizona or ghost towns and stuff, I think of that book a lot, and it's kind of funny. But Roger Matrix, or sorry about that, Roger, I just pronounced your last name. He said, "Have you ever been in a haunted house or building that you know of?" Oh God, Roger, you asked the wrong people, because these people up here, these two up here, yeah. But I don't know about. I don't know about Junior. Have you ever been in a haunted building?
Well, I can say this one because it's been on TV, and I went and visited a Whaley House in San Diego, and I went on the tour. I wasn't in on my own, but so I can say that I've been in one that's reported to be haunted, and there were all these things that happened there. And the only other one really that I can put into that sense is floor 4 was the hospital, going inside it when it was demolished, or not demolished, but abandoned. And, but I didn't know I was going to write a story for that when I went in there. So it just kind of happened.
Yeah, because we talked about that last time too. I remember the pictures that you sent me of the old hospital and stuff. Yeah. It's like, whereas, Tammy, she's well, Junior, you've seen her photos. She's
you had them on there. Yeah,
she's been in a lot of creepy ass buildings, but yeah, I think Maddie and I talked about this one time on the phone. I don't know. I would love to go, and I've been in buildings that have been considered haunting. I've been in the Whaley House, like you have in San Diego, and I think one of the most incredible, beautiful, but so creepy ones that I ever went in was the Winchester Mystery House. Now, if you've been in Whaley House, had you ever gone into the Winchester House in San Jose?
No, but I do want to go to that.
Oh my God, absolutely incredible.
That looks crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely.
I have a better place for both of you. Okay. Y'all need to come to North Carolina and go to Road to Nowhere. So you walk up to this abandoned tunnel. They had bored through the mountain, and they had started making a tunnel, right? And once you stand in there, you can't see the other side. All you can hear are these voices, and there's nobody in there with you. And you can see these light particles going everywhere. I have photos. I can do that. Yes. That's really cool.
Wait, it's a tunnel or it's like a train tunnel?
No, it was a tunnel they were going to use it to drive through. They were making a road through the mountain, and they stopped construction, and so it's abandoned. And it's
why in the hell would you want to go in there?
Well, I went to take pictures. Me and my girlfriend went. Yeah, it was enough to give me goosebumps.
Do they charge? To go in? It's just a public place. It's just anybody can go there.
Yes,
that would be good research. Good research right there.
Yeah. So Roger Maltix, I hope Junior answered your question. Andrew lives in New Jersey, and he actually has a really kind of personal question. He said, Junior, I have a story I want to tell. Where do I start? My family thinks I can't do it. It's kind of funny, Junior, that he asks this because Andrew is a man in his 40s and he's got 2 kids. And he's told me before of this story that he wants to tell.
Okay.
And his family does. His family thinks he's crazy. So can you give him any like pointers and stuff where he would go? I mean, how did you go from having this story you wanted to tell to, like, you told us earlier that you didn't really publish it, put anything down on paper. So right. What could you tell him?
Well, first thing I would say is when somebody, it's the old cliche, if they say you can't do it, you can. But when you start getting into writing, it seems like it's impossible that you're going to write a book. It feels that way even when I sit down now and I start a new one, it feels like I'm never going to get to the finish line because it's just so much in front of you. But what I would say to Andrew is that whatever ideas you have, write them down. Use a pen and paper, write them down. Don't worry about writing a book so much as write down all of the ideas, everything you want to put into it, and then work them and play with those words and bring them together. And then the story will take place, because I really feel like you have to know the story in your head a little bit first before you start sitting down. If you sit down at a computer and start typing and you don't have an idea where you're going, then it'll make it harder. So just to take the pressure off, I would sit down with a pen and paper and just write down idea after idea. They don't have to mean anything to you, but just whatever comes to your head, put that on paper, and then, take a day off, come back to it, and just keep building on those ideas. You're going to turn those one 3-word sentence into a paragraph at some point, and then you're just going to keep expanding on it. So to take the pressure off, don't think about writing a book so much as it's better to create an idea first, and then you can get into the writing.
Wow. I guess I never ever thought of it that way. It's kind of funny. So, Andrew, this is kind of a point to you. It's like Andrew and I have talked before. We've chatted through instant messages, and he keeps a lot of notes, and he has written outlines and everything else. Yeah. But that's a good question, actually. And
very good question.
Junior's son, Michael, said the Menger Hotel in San Antonio.
You know what? He's reminding me of that. So when we were in San Antonio and we were there on vacation, or I was playing ball or something, so the Menger Hotel, the Crockett Hotel, they're right next to where the Alamo is. And what you see the Alamo on TV and pictures, that's just the church part. The Alamo was much bigger. It expanded out and to where all the fighting and everything happened. But those hotels, they are on the grounds of where the old Alamo was, and there's reported hauntings in there. So I'll tell you a quick story about one of these, the Menger or the Crockett Hotel. We took the kids in there, and it was my sister and my brother-in-law, and we had my kids and his kids. And if I'm remembering right, they have the red carpets just like in The Shining. It's one of those hotels that it's real old. And we went up to about the 5th floor, and then we bailed out as parents. We bailed out and took the elevator down, and we left them up there. And then they came down in the lobby later behind us, if I'm remembering right.
You left the kids up there?
Yeah, they weren't little kids. They were old enough to.
Oh, they were teenagers.
But we told them it was haunted going in there. They were a little younger than teenagers, but that was, I think.
That's messed up.
If Mike remembers right, it was something along those lines, but that's what he's talking about there.
It's like, that's just messed up.
My brother-in-law was more scared than them, so he was glad to get down with us. So he was more afraid. So,
wow. Good evening from the UK, London. Horseman Hatton, welcome to the channel. Wow, you're on the other side of the pond, completely, literally.
Yeah.
So welcome to the chat, and it's like, that's just messed up. So that's just messed up. So when I think of the Alamo, you know what I think of? Seriously?
What's that?
The Pee Wee Herman movie.
Hey, that's a big part of it.
But remember where he goes to the
basement.
Alamo and he makes the funny joke about that little tiny building? Is this all there is? It's like when you think of the Alamo, you don't think of it being haunted. You just think of it.
Yeah.
I think of high school, but yeah, it's funny because Kelly Cyberling said earlier. She said, "Yes, you're right. I'm a chicken, LOL. But remember, I have seen a spirit right in front of me during the day at church a few times ago, a few years ago." And sorry, Kelly, I took my glasses off and watched it go through the wall. So
No.
okay,
She can see then. She can see it.
yeah. Have you ever seen a ghost?
Me, no. I mean, I might have imagined one or my mind was working, but to be honest, I can't say that I saw a ghost, honestly,
I've seen.
no.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've seen them before. In fact, I posted a picture. In fact, I think I sent it. I might have sent it to you, Junior, but and I know Tammy and Maddie have seen it. But yeah, one night I was sitting right where we're at right now, and that way right there, it was like 3:13 in the morning, and I saw something go in front of me, and I actually grabbed my camera on my phone and actually took a picture, and I didn't see it in the lens until I looked at the picture on my camera, and then I went and woke up Bruce at like almost 3:30 in the morning thinking I was going crazy. So Kelly, that's pretty scary. A lot of people, yeah, a lot of people I think it would make, well, I believe in them. So yeah, that's pretty scary, actually.
I believe in it. But I just don't think I've seen one that I can say that I've seen, seen.
Tammy,
one.
have you ever seen a ghost?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Maddie, have you ever seen one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maddie, you are a ghost.
Don't let him pick on you, Maddie. Don't let him pick on you.
I love to tease this kid because she's so damn. She's one of those kids that just like. She's just like Wednesday Addams. In fact, speaking of Wednesday Addams, Junior, have you seen the new series on Netflix?
No, I have it queued up, and I've heard a lot about it.
It's so good, isn't it, Tammy? It was great. It was great.
Yes, we loved it. Yes.
Everyone I talked to said that they binge watch it. That's the words that they use. They watch it pretty fast. Yes. So
yeah, you do, and each episode's between like 40 minutes and an hour, and there's what, 8 episodes, Tammy? Something like that. Yeah. And the girl that plays her is absolutely incredible. She's 20 years old, and but she's perfect in the role. The only thing I don't like about it, Junior, I don't like Catherine Zeta-Jones playing Morticia, and I do not like the guy that plays her father. But Horseman Hatton says, wow, this is pretty cool. Now this would scare me. Horseman Hatton says, yes, sir, thank you. We live right by Whitechapel Road in London, if you have heard of it. Yes, I think we've all heard of Whitechapel Road. And Whitechapel is one of those places, Junior, that you probably have kind of had in the back of your mind when you've written your crazy stories.
Yeah, with that whole history of Jack the Ripper and that road there and everything else, you know, as a horror fan and a writer, you have to take a piece of that with you somewhere in your writing. However it comes out, it may be not exactly like that, but just that vibe and everything else. I would love to walk down that street just for the history of it, but
wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool?
Yeah, it would be very cool to do that.
Yeah, and it's like with them. Do you think they ever caught the man?
I don't know. That's a.
And have you ever have either of you ever thought, because you're both writers, have you ever thought that what if it would have been a woman?
You never know.
That's right. You don't. You never know.
You don't. And it's funny because I remember being a teenager and we went to one of our local haunted houses in Seattle one year, and they had a whole Jack the Ripper scene, and they portrayed Jack the Ripper as this woman, and it's kind of funny because I really like the story of Jack the Ripper, and if it's done as a fictional take on horror, it kind of makes sense that it could have been a woman because they didn't really have to be that strong to slice someone's throats. But that's kind of funny. And Horseman says it's where I better put my glasses on. I keep trying to take them off because I don't like this glare, and then I can't read. It says it's where Jack the Ripper killed and butchered a lot of his victims using his doctor's bag containing various things such as scalpels, etc., to disembowel some of his victims. Yeah, and it's one of the most gruesome and disturbing parts of our American history, and not even our American history, but let's see.
Richard Lehman has a book called Savage. And
Savage.
It's kind of based on Jack the Ripper. You know that.
I've never been able to finish it. I get like halfway through, and it's so it's so drug out, and it's a chunker. It's a thick,
it's a bigger book.
It is a pretty big book. Stephanie just said, congratulations on the near 1,000 reviews of Floor 4. I share the story with all of my friends. Wow.
Thank you. I appreciate
that's
that.
pretty cool because speaking of reviews, Junior, I don't know why my reviews don't show up on Amazon. I think it's because I either swear, I use a cuss word or something. But I went in last week, I think, and I was talking to somebody. It might have been Christy or somebody, but I was talking about Floor 4 and Purgatory. So I went in and resubmitted my reviews, so they are on there now. But
okay, well, thank you.
that's pretty cool, Stephanie, that you noticed that, because I was going to bring that up with Junior too. And let me see. This question's actually from me. Okay. I've wanted to ask you this for a long time. Who's your favorite horror character in print? And it doesn't have to be in print. It can be in a movie, but it can't be Jason or Freddy Krueger.
Right. That's a good question. It's about the stories that I've, the books I've read and the movies I've watched. Man, there's a lot rifling through there right now. So it can't be a character from one of the horror movies. It can't be one of those. Is that what you're saying? No,
it can, just not Freddy or Jason. Just because I don't think they're scary, and I think they're just, that might scare you, but you being a writer, there's got to be somebody between the pages of one of these crazy things that we call books that really stands out as your favorite.
Yeah, well, so as far as favorite goes, to me, a favorite would be the one that would scare me the most. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go with your fan favorite, Richard, is Reagan.
Oh my God, Reagan McNeil.
And it's, and it's not just so much the image that you see on TV, but it's what's inside her. And that's what I see. I don't see the girl, I see what's inside her. So as far as reading the book, I don't know if I could get through the book as far as unless I'm at a park at noon with a bunch of kids running around playing, I might read it then,
It's actually scary. The book is psychologically scary.
Yeah,
it's not like the movie was. In fact, Tammy and I talked about the book version of The Exorcist. And it's funny because it just, she's scary. She's really, really, really scary. In fact, I did a diamond painting of a pretty big Reagan McNeil it's over there in my portfolio. And it's still hard for me to look at that image of that young girl. But
I can't do it.
Yeah. And the backstory of The Exorcist, that it was actually based on a 14-year-old boy.
Yes.
Yeah, we all know that. So Horseman Hatton said, let's see, the old alleyways are very much haunted by Jack, and you can feel the presence when you walk around there. That would actually be cool. Like Junior said, I would love to walk on that street. I would love
to soak in the atmosphere.
Yeah, because just those cobblestones, you don't know how much blood was shed on those things. And almost proven that he was a member of royalty, but never proven. Wow, I never thought of that either. Wow, I never really did ever think of that.
That's interesting.
That is interesting because I've never ever thought of that.
It's a different time, different way of thinking back then.
Yeah, complete different time. And he also says, I heard he was similar to H.H. Holmes. Oh my God, why the hell would you bring up H.H. Holmes? I just read, in fact, Junior, aren't you? I think we talked about this last time. Didn't we bring up Robert Bloch?
I think we did, yeah.
Yeah, and I just read his 1974 book, American Gothic, which is based on it's kind of like his retelling of the H.H. Holmes stories, the H.H. Holmes story.
Right.
And H.H. Holmes, I think, when I asked you, who's one of your favorite scary characters in print, I think mine has got to be H.H. Holmes. The man terrifies me. And
not a bad, yeah.
Oh my God! Just that castle and the acid vats and all that stuff that he did, and then to use the World's Fair exposition to draw in his victims and stuff was pretty scary. And Michael says mine would be the demon from the original Jeepers Creepers. Oh my God!
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. And
we talk about that a lot.
Movies, oh my God. The second one, Michael, was so much more scary than the first one. The same actor portrayed the creeper, but that thing was so creepy. And it's funny that you bring up the creeper because that scene remember that scene, you guys, where his wings first came out for the first time? Is like, oh God, that thing. Yeah, that was a creepy.
Well, when they were stopped in the road and he was up the road a little bit and he was walking back and forth. That was, to me, that was the scariest part.
The one in the original? The original?
One,
yeah, because him and his poor girlfriend, they were just like, okay, no one's going to believe this. And then when they looked down that tube, remember where oh my God, and all those bodies were, attached to the roof of that dwelling, that cave or whatever.
That was pretty.
That was one. That was
original right there. That was very good.
Very original. And Victor Salva. Yeah, we all know the story about Victor Salva, but he's still one of the most Powder. His movie Powder will be a movie that I will never, ever, ever, ever forget. And Maddie, what are you doing up there?
Rearranging my desk.
She's like, there's oh wow, there's oh my God, Jack's here. So diamond painting with Jack. Hello everyone. Jack, welcome to the live chat. It's funny to see Jack here because Jack Jr. is a diamond painter, and I
see his name. Yeah,
Jack is just so talented, and Jack is so funny. And Jack, do you even read horror? Do you like to read? Do you like horror? I know she's yes. Jack, are you still there? Do you like horror? I've never asked Jack that. Jack and I don't really, I don't think we've ever even chatted live. We've talked back and forth, but Horseman, Tammy, you've seen Jack's stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Horseman Hatton said, the reason I brought up H.H. Holmes was because I actually watched a documentary on YouTube that questions his movements as he came to London around the time of the Jack the Ripper murders. Also true. Yeah, it's kind of funny because they thought that H.H. Holmes could have been Jack the Ripper. Oh yeah, Jack says she does read horror. How can you not read horror? It's just and then she says, I have read some, but now when somebody says that they've read some, is that pretty graphic or pretty mild? But
I think it's mild.
Yeah. But what would you call mild? Tammy, what you call mild is what I call nightmare material, and I don't even know I don't even know what Junior reads.
Yeah, what do you read?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Well, you talking about authors? It's Stephen King,
Yes.
Richard Lehman, Bentley Little. You know,
Bentley Little. I like Bentley
Yeah.
Little. I have not liked his latest stuff, but didn't you read Gloria, Junior?
yeah, I read Gloria. Yeah, the one that was kind of that was a weird one.
It was
You know.
weird, but it wasn't as bad as The Bank. Did you read The Bank?
Yeah, no, I like Gloria better than The Bank. Yes,
The Bank was awful. The Bank was
well,
awful.
his original work is, holding true. It's still there. I
Oh,
was going to
God,
tell you, Richard, I was going through my stack of books that I have in my closet, and I ran across like 6 or 7 John Saul books,
oh my God.
hardcovers. So
Oh my God.
I'm gonna go into that. I'm gonna get into that.
Oh,
Just for you.
dude,
Just for you.
you guys both know how I feel about John Saul.
Yeah.
Yes.
John Saul's got to be one of the most. So you've never read anything by him?
I think I read one, and I can't remember which one it was, but it's not one of the ones that I have in the closet. It was from a time before when I started. I think that's why I started collecting those books. I just haven't got around to reading him because I get stuck on these other guys back here.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll send you a list, and I'll let you recommend, or the ones that I have, and I'll let you recommend which one to read to me.
So have you? Speaking of Stephen King, have you read Billy Summers?
Yeah, I finished that last year, I believe.
Yeah.
One time, or when it came out, and it's not horror.
It's not horror.
He's more thriller, police procedure.
Bruce read it, and Bruce really, really liked it. So have you read his newest one, Fairy Tale?
No, I have not read that one. No, I have not read that one.
Bruce just finished the audio book a couple weeks ago, and he really, really liked it. I don't think I've liked anything from that man in the last probably 12, 13 years. It's kind of funny. It's funny. Leslie Powell McCarty, she says, Bentley Little writes some strange stuff. Welcome to the chat, Leslie. I'm glad you could pop in. It's good to see you. But Bentley Little. Oh my God. Junior, have you read his book, Dominion, one of his earliest ones?
Yes.
I can't go to Napa. I can't go to Napa here in Northern California and not think of that book.
Yeah.
That book and The House, I think, was one of the most disturbing books. When they came out, they were really, it was kind of like The Exorcist when The Exorcist came out.
Yeah.
So
he bases a lot in California and Arizona.
Yeah, he does. And it's kind of weird. So this is another question from me. I wrote some of these down because I didn't want to forget. Oh, wow. Tamron. Oh, wait. This is terrible. Oh, this is a good question. This just came through from Tamron Ramey. Good one. Will I ever hear from Brandon again? He's my favorite character in a long time. Oh my God, I love this question. I love this question because Tamron, I love Brandon too. I love Brandon.
Well, okay. Brandon.
So first, before you answer, you want to tell people who Brandon is? Yeah,
Brandon is the main character in Floor 4. He's a young kid or a kid when it starts, and then he's a little bit older. He's a teenager by the time you get to the end. But it seems like he's lived for 40 years between the two, part 1 and part 2. So I won't give anything away for the end of part 2, but Brandon.
That's a book I didn't bring out. Was part 2.
Yeah. When you read about Brandon, for now, what you read in that book, that's where he's going to be. But it doesn't mean he can't make an appearance in a totally different story, make a cameo, because I like to do that with characters. So if you read closely, you might see him in another story unrelated to Floor 4.
Mm-hmm. Which I did. Remember, I told you I did. I came across Brandon. But I loved Brandon. Brandon just Floor 4 was my favorite. But you know how I feel about Night Dreams. Night Dreams still is just it's kind of funny because all 3 of those books, well, Purgatory has the original short story, and then there's Floor 4, there's the novella, and then you republished it. Well, of course but you republished it as a full novel. And then it's even kind of Well, isn't the hospital in Night Dreams the same hospital that's in Floor 4?
Well, no, in Night Dreams, no, because that story takes place in Pennsylvania. Night Dreams.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's on the East Coast. God.
But in part 2, the doctor from Night Dreams
is in.
He's in part 2. So eventually he makes it to the hospital. You know, so they kind of come together.
Great book. So
thank you.
Oh my God. It's funny. Leslie says, "Oh my God, I used to read John Saul when I was a youngster." Who didn't? I mean, not who didn't, but I knew the man personally when I lived in Seattle. And I know I've told both you and Tammy this before. The man just could you ever see yourself? God, could you imagine, Junior, walking into a bookstore and seeing 40 novels with your name on it on a shelf?
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Like, yeah, it would be crazy. And it's like, have you ever, Thomas says, ask Junior if he's ever been noticed in a public cafe like Starbucks or a restaurant.
It was Barnes and Noble, the cafe part. And these were girls, teenage girls, I guess, or high school girls sitting at a table, and they were laughing, and I was sitting there writing, but they were laughing, and they kept looking. I kept feeling that they were looking over at me, but they weren't really laughing, but they were more tickled than laughing. But so I guess they saw me, and I don't know if they've read my books or whatever, but on their computer, they have my Amazon page pulled up on their computer. I could see it. And then I realized what they were, but they didn't say anything to me.
Really. They didn't say anything to you?
I think they were afraid to say anything, but they realized that that's the same person.
Oh my God, how funny.
Well, that's the closest I've been to really, I think, anybody recognizing that I don't know.
It's funny. And Tom, who just asked the question, he said, I've only read Junior's Purgatory, and I've only gotten halfway through. Where would I start? Do I have to start with Floor 4, the novella, or can I just read the novel? Good question, actually.
Either way, but if you were going to read it all the way through, I would just read the whole thing, part 1 and part 2, the novel part of it. Mm-hmm. And because I've gone in since the one that was in Purgatory, I've gone in and kind of streamlined part 1, made it a little bit easier to read, I guess, faster pace. The story is still the same, but when you read it all together with part 2, it just kind of flows better.
Yeah, it did. And I have both the novella and the novel, and they read it. The story's the same, but yeah, I would recommend Tom just read the novel from beginning to end. Let's see what else is here. Oh, somebody asks, well, we will, Sandra, I know you just popped in, but we did ask Junior. Junior is married and he's got 3 sons, but she does ask, is writing your full-time job, or do you have a regular 9 to 5?
I have a regular 9 to 5.
That's a good question, because I've never even asked you that.
Yeah, I have a regular job. To be a writer and to make it professionally on your own like that would take a lot. You would have to really, as many have, you would really have to take off. Your career would have to take off. So I kind of like to say I have my job for the health insurance, but something you have to have. But yeah, I do have a regular job, and I write whenever I can.
What is your regular job?
I work for the city here, and we work in water compliance, regulatory compliance.
Oh, you do?
Yeah. So we regulate what water comes out of our system, and we report that to the state and the EPA, things like that. So we make sure that the water is the way it's supposed to be, testing and things like that.
So what have you been doing for the have you been? What have you read horror wise lately? That and not Stephen King. Have you ever read much Peter Straub?
Yeah, I read. Well, I have two of them. The one with Stephen King down there, and
Oh,
it's been a while. It's been a while with
the
Straub.
Talisman,
and was a Ghost
Black
Story.
House.
Was that not Ghost Story?
Shadowland.
No, it was. 1 second. Let's see. No, I had it somewhere in here.
One of his horror or one of his
Let's see. Black House.
Yeah, Black House is the sequel to Talisman.
But it's been a while with him, and so I haven't really like taken off like John Saul. You know, that's one because you know of your interest in him, and I regard your reviews and things. You know, I take them to heart.
That means a lot. Yeah, it's funny because Tammy, you've read John Saul before, haven't you? Tammy,
no, I actually picked two of his. I actually found two of his. We were thrift shopping for books, and I picked up two just within the last couple months. So, yeah, I'm excited to read them. I have them back here somewhere. I have. Let's see here. The Homing and Second Child.
Second Child's phenomenal. The Homing is good. The Homing will. Well, with you guys living in North Carolina, you will actually probably love The Homing because it takes place in a big old house on a farm, but it'll make you look at Mother Nature completely different, in a very disturbing way. But it's funny because John Saul is such a quick read that would you ever do you see yourself, Junior, you know, being a John Saul one day where you have that many books? But it's gotta be be so time consuming to write.
It is, and it, like we were talking about having a 9 to 5, you know, that cuts into it, but I think you can only be writing or create. So let's say if you didn't have a job and you did it full time, I don't think you could write for 16 hours a day. Your creative, your mind just couldn't create for that many hours in a day. For me, it would probably be 3 or 4 hours tops. And then I would have all this other time left over, but I just don't think you can write well. Maybe some people can do it. I don't think I could. It would be 3 or 4 hours a day. So with a job, you have to pick your spots. So I'll write at lunchtime at work. Or whenever the mood hits me, I feel like I have to write at that time, you know. So you can get 1,000 in here and there. That's your story is just going to keep getting bigger.
Wow. So have you seen any horror movies lately? I mean, do you go to movies or do you just watch them on streaming? Have you seen anything lately?
Well, let's see, was it Monday night, Sunday night? Sunday night, I saw Smile.
Tammy and Maddie. Yeah, they saw that too.
Have you seen it?
We missed it. Did you like it?
I'm going to recommend you watch it tonight. That's how good it is. To me, it is. It's different than what you think. It's different than what they show on the promos. There's another story to it, and it's something I think you're going to like. I think that's right up your alley.
Yeah, because isn't it a psychological horror?
Well, if you want to believe that, then watch it that way and tell me what you think when you finish it. It's a little bit. Hey, I watched it before bedtime, and that was my mistake because I said, "Now, how am I gonna?" You know, I should have watched it during the daytime, but I made it all right. But it's really good.
So, she even liked it. Maddie even liked it. Yeah,
you liked it, Maddie. Yeah. Have the three of you seen? In fact, I don't know if I brought this up to you the other day when I was talking to you on the phone or not, Tammy. But I don't know if you guys have HBO Max, but it's also on a couple of the streaming channels. Have you guys seen? Junior, this movie was just, it was just disturbing. It was so disturbing. It's called A Field Guide to Evil.
I haven't seen it.
I don't even think I've heard of it.
Oh my God. Okay, so have you guys heard of there was 2 movies, the ABCs of Death?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
The ABCs of Death, yes.
yeah, there was 2 of them, in fact, where they take all 26 letters of the alphabet and they do these little short vignettes of horror. But this one's called A Field Guide to Evil, and it's 8 stories from different parts of the world, and they're stories that are based on things, folklore and tales that we tell little kids to scare them. Okay, I watched it night before last, and I actually watched it in the afternoon. It was so disturbing that there is one of the stories on there that's based in Germany that actually gave me nightmares. And
really?
it's have you seen The Witch? Have you seen that movie, The Witch?
Yes. Yeah.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was a little deep, but it was scary as far as where it got to the point that, it was really scary.
Yeah, so this movie, you guys really need to watch it. But yeah, it's called A Field Guide to Evil.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Talking about, yeah, it's really it's very disturbing. I would love to hear. I was hoping that one of you guys would have said, "Oh yeah, we saw that," blah blah blah. But oh my God, you guys, the movie's just so disturbing. So what do you think of this movie that we were talking about earlier, The Mean One? Do you think it's a sacrilege to take beloved childhood characters like the Grinch or even Winnie the Pooh? Tammy, you've seen the Winnie the Pooh movie, haven't you? The horror one?
No, that's the one I want to see really bad.
Do you guys Junior being a horror? Do you think that's sacrilege?
It's weird. It's strange to me,
Because
You're taking something that's. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You think it's something that what?
Well, you're taking something that's people are used to a certain kind of way, and then so you're changing it. So in that way, it is kind of sacrilegious in that sense, in the pure form of it. But from the horror side, I want to see it too.
See, I'm not the only one.
But
It's so different than seeing Pennywise. It's a clown where, kids grew up with clowns, but then you got people like John Wayne Gacy. And then,
oh God, no.
So,
Well,
I mean, what's the difference in them turning Winnie the Pooh into a horror movie?
Well, I can separate it in my mind. That's the only reason that I say it is that I know I'm going to keep the original Winnie the Pooh over here, but this is the fantasy side of it, I guess you want to say.
I don't know. The Grinch was I was never scared of the Grinch growing up in the 60s. I mean, I remember when it first came out. But I think when I think of the Grinch and I think of Scary Mom, I think of Jim Carrey portraying the Grinch. Yeah. Jim Carrey was phenomenal in that role. Yeah. But come on, Winnie the Pooh. You guys know I'm a Disney freak, and as much as I want to see the Mean One, I know it's going to be really cheesy and bad, but I don't know if I want to watch the Winnie the Pooh one. I really, I don't
watch it. We'll let you know how it is.
Of course, and you will. You'll probably let me know, and it just, I don't know. That just goes. I think. I don't know. I do want to see it. But speaking of Layman, have you read all of his stuff, Junior?
No, there's a few that I haven't gotten to yet. I have almost all of his works, but there's a few that I haven't gotten to.
Yeah.
What's your favorite of his?
I think my favorite Layman book has probably got to be Wow, Out Are the Lights or The Woods Are Dark. But of course, the Cellar, the Beast House books are still.
Those are my favorites as far as
Oh my God,
fun horror.
I've reread all 5 of those. There's 4 or 5. I think I've read them 2 or 3 times. But have you ever read his Night in the Lonesome of October?
That's up there, and it's a big
Oh
book.
my God.
That's a big book. Is that's the one you like, right?
Yeah, I love that book. And it's one of the books that when people talk about Layman, it's not a a horror fan's favorite, but I really like it. It's funny, Leslie said, I don't think they should take our beloved characters and make them evil. I don't want to see Pooh and Piglet as monsters killers. And I know it's funny that you say that, Leslie, because they make this Winnie the Pooh this horrible evil, but I don't think it's Winnie the Pooh as we know Winnie the Pooh. I think it's a killer with a Winnie the Pooh mask. I would hope, but I can't imagine seeing Piglet as somebody evil. But that would be like Leslie Jr.'s book. He has a doctor in his in his Floor 4 books, and it's like when I think of bad doctors, I think of Floor 4. It's funny that you say that, but yeah. I would like to see the Winnie the Pooh, but I'm not as excited as you and Tammy are. I just I don't know. I think that would I really think that one might go a little bit too far for me. But
well, I got a question for you then.
What's that?
What would be worse for you, to see Winnie the Pooh as the killer or Winnie the Pooh get killed?
Ooh,
good question.
Good question.
What would hurt more for you?
Yep.
Honestly, I think. Well, I remember we've all seen Bambi, and I remember being a kid in the 60s, and I remember going to see Bambi, I think the first time when I was 6 years old. And I remember, we all know the story of Bambi. I think it would be harder for me to see Winnie the Pooh as a killer. And I know it's I think it would be harder for me to see Winnie the Pooh as the killer. And it's like somebody asked me the other day, in fact, I can pull it up right here. Monica and I were talking, and Monica said, Richard, I know you're a huge Wizard of Oz fan, and we were chatting back and forth, and she's like, would you ever go to, this is a funny question, and I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and she asked me, she said, would you ever go to that, there's a theme park, and Tammy, it might be West Virginia or North Carolina.
It's here in North Carolina.
It is in North Carolina. Yeah, it's the Wizard of Oz one.
Yes.
Yeah. So me and Monica were talking, and she's like, Richard, she said, I'm not going to be able to pop in on Tuesday night. She said, but bring up the subject to Junior that he should write a horror story, because she's read your stuff, and she said, bring up the subject that he should write a horror story revolving around either the Tin Man or the Cowardly Lion, and take it to extreme gruesome horror. And
that might be fun.
You know what? It would be fun. And I was watching The Wizard of Oz the other day, and they're re-releasing it next summer, and they're putting like 43 minutes back into it that have never been shown in the movie's entirety. Okay. I think it would be great to make the Tin Man as a murderous, axe-wielding psycho. I think it would actually work. I really think it would actually work.
Well, he could take the axe and put the heart in the lion himself. Remember the lion?
God.
Or was it the lion or the straw man, or the which one wanted the heart?
The Tin Man needed the heart. The Tin Man needed the heart. Okay. The Scarecrow needed a brain, and then the lion needed courage, and
Yeah.
Dorothy just
There we
Dorothy,
go.
that bitch was just messed up. She just needed a way back to Kansas, and I think she had smoked too much. I don't know. The whole movie at the beginning, I still think of being a kid, and everybody say, "Oh my God, the Wicked Witch scared me." The Wicked Witch didn't scare me as much as Annie M. I mean,
yeah, that was.
I mean, when you think of it, have you ever read the books, Junior? Have you ever?
No,
read
no, I've not read the books, but I hear that they're not so magical as they make them on TV.
They're not magical. They're very disturbing, and yeah, Annie M came across as being I don't know. She scared me more than
Mommy Dearest. Was she a Mommy Dearest?
Oh my God! Now, Mommy Dearest. Joan Crawford was something else, though. But yeah, it's just you know, we don't really know the truth about that. But I mean, I can't imagine a daughter lying about their mother in a way that Christina Crawford did. But yeah, I think the Tin Man or even the Lion would really, really, really work as a great horror movie or a horror book.
You better ask Leslie about that.
Yeah, Leslie, you and I'll have to talk about that on the other channel. It's just like, yeah, it would work. It would work. And it's like, speaking of horror, I watched. Have the three of you ever seen? And I think Maddie and I talked about this one time. Have you ever seen the movie The Return to Oz with Fairuza Balk?
I don't think so.
It came out in like the 80s, maybe the mid 80s, but it was put out by Disney Films, and it was a Walt Disney picture. And Fairuza Balk plays a younger Dorothy, of course, because Judy Garland, we all know, was almost 17 when she played the role. But Fairuza Balk plays Dorothy, but it takes place years after Dorothy comes back to Kansas, and there's a couple scenes in there where the Wheelers are just the creepiest things, and those books were not as magical and pretty as the 1939 Judy Garland film was. But so Junior, when you sit down, like when you go see a horror movie, do you go in with an open mind, or do you watch the trailers before you go see a movie?
Yeah, to go see one, the trailer is probably what got me in there to go see it. But when I sit down and watch it, I just want to be me. I just want to be a patron with an open mind, with my popcorn and my drink, and watch the movie and just take it in for the way that they made it. As a writer, I see things in there and it makes me, oh, that's a good idea. That's a great idea. That's, this and that. But I mostly go with an open mind and enjoy it as a moviegoer, and because I want to be entertained for 2 hours, and forget about everything else. So to escape to that world is great for me. I enjoy it.
Yeah. So so Steve just asked me. He said, "I'll just pop it up. I think I can pop it up." So does he like classic or modern horror better? I think. Are you talking about movies, Steve? Oh yeah, he said movies. Do you like a classic horror movie or a modern horror?
Well, when you say classic, how far back are we going on that?
60s to the 70s. Oh, he says 55 to 75.
Well, it's two different worlds there. So the original, what was the original zombie? I can't think of the name.
Oh God, Night of the Living Dead.
Night of the Living Dead. So
George Romero.
That has its own unique whatever about it that I really love. And it, whether the acting was good or the directing was good, to me, that was scary. So when you're talking about modern horror, which are the ones that are out now, you have a lot of special effects that make it better, but I don't know if the writing is any better than what they just didn't have the effects back then. So I enjoy both. To answer that question, no, it's a cop out, but I enjoy both.
Now,
for their own thing.
Yeah, when you bring up even throw it in a category, don't you think the scariness about the original Night of the Living Dead was the fact that it was done in that gritty black and white?
Yep, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's something that has to do with, you know, how it's how they present it to you. And, you know, and they don't really show, once they're in that house, they don't really show what's outside, but again, it's the unknown. They know that they're out there, but the action takes place in the house.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, just right outside those windows, you know, it could be the end of your life. So to me, that whole buildup of the fear of it, that's what I'm talking about in the classic movies.
Mm-hmm.
They knew how to do that well.
Yeah, and he was a master of that. And I remember I graduated in 1978, and I remember the summer or the spring before I graduated, they released Night of the Living Dead for the first time in theaters. And like, God, since I think it had been banned for like, God, 15, 20 years. But I remember going to see it when we were in high school, and that whole daughter, that little girl, I mean, I think that little girl in the basement attacking her mom with the trowel still is probably the scariest scene in that movie to me. And yeah, even though the zombies, the undead, that little girl and that scene at the thing, and it's funny because in Night of the Living Dead, we never did find out what was wrong with those people, right, what caused that. And
I think that was great. I think that was great, you know, that you didn't know, you know.
Yeah. And Steve also says, Junior, are you a fan of all these splatterpunk movies where the evil and vile just get away with murder? That's a good question, because do you like splatterpunk?
It's not my favorite, but I mean, I understand the question, you know, as far as, you know, that it has their own way of going. They have their own way of going about it. Mm-hmm. And I guess that's the niche in it, is that they get away with it. Mm-hmm. You know, I guess that's kind of its own style, I guess to say. Mm-hmm. It's not my favorite, but you know, horror is horror. So I'll take a run at anything and see if I like it, you mm-hmm. know?
Have you ever read, God, what was his name? It's two authors, Spectre and, come on, Tammy, pull me through. I know Craig Spectre and something Skip. They wrote.
I don't know if I know.
They wrote that. They wrote two huge books in the 90s. There was The Light at the End, and they also wrote the book Scream. They wrote splatterpunk, and I think they're still writing today.
I have to look that up too.
They wrote that book, The Bridge, and it was about God, it's been so many years since I read it. I think it takes place in New York, but it's about how we have destroyed our ecosystem and our earth by littering. And the people of New York start getting infected by the water, the drinking water and stuff. But it was a very disturbing book. And splatterpunk has its own place for horror. I've never been a fan of it, but yeah,
it's like a subgenre of it.
Yeah, it's like a subgenre, and I don't know. You have to be in that special state of mind to read splatterpunk. But Thomas just chatted. He said, he's like, I don't know Tammy and Maddie, but does Tammy approve of her daughter? Does she allow? Tammy, do you allow and approve of your daughter to read horror? She seems like a kid that would not be afraid of anything. That good question, Tom, because I'll let Tammy answer this because yeah.
So yeah. I mean, I limit what she reads, because you got to realize when you read a book, it it takes a whole different course than a movie. You know, Hollywood makes it into this glitz and glam, and they're going to throw different things in. But when you read a book like The Exorcist, that's not on her to be read list at all.
Yeah.
She does have scholastic books that she reads. There are some horror books that we have here that she can read. So I do monitor that. As far as like when a book's made into a movie, I'll watch it first. And there's movies and shows that we watch together, you know. And if I feel like something's coming up she don't need to see, I'm definitely gonna, make her turn around, cover her eyes, something. I mean, I don't just let her watch anything that's out there on her own. There are restrictions.
So, Junior, did you limit the boys when they were growing up of what they could read?
Goosebumps was out when my oldest son was into read, when he was old enough to read, and we had the whole collection of Goosebumps. So he liked those, and so I kind of left it open minded. But I didn't, that was at a certain level for children, I guess you want to say.
Yeah.
Even though they were scary. So as far as TV shows and things, Freddy Krueger was we were fanboys of Freddy Krueger, and and the kids, I would have to ask them really about, were they really afraid back then, or was dad too scary or whatever? But so it just, you kind of see how your child is, and you kind of see what you think they can absorb, and then you just kind of go from there. That's the way we did it. And mine are all grown now, and they seem to be fine men, so they're not
sick and twisted and disturbed.
They might be afraid of it, but that might be good for them, I guess.
Maddie, what have you got holding up, Maddie?
Her dark painting with her handprints.
See, Junior, this girl, that. I know she's really, really good. She's
really talented. Yeah,
she's talented, but Maddie, what made you paint that?
I saw a face in there.
I did too, like in the middle. But
do you want to see it again?
Yeah.
All right, so there it is.
Yeah, see, so right. I don't know if is my cursor coming across the screen?
No.
Oh, so
I see the face where your hand is holding it on the corner.
See,
Over
that's
here?
where
there.
I see it too.
Right
There's
there.
a face right there,
Yeah.
there.
It's like
she's really talented.
Very good, Maddie.
So Leslie asks, she says, whoops, sorry, Leslie, I just knocked it off. Are any of Junior's books audiobooks? I travel a lot for work and I must listen to a book while driving. Good question.
Floor 4, the first part is in the audiobook form.
Available. Is that on? I mean, I know, but is that on Kindle or is it?
You can get it on Amazon. It's on Audible, wherever audiobooks. It's distributed, wide. So wherever you get them, you can find it there. There's going to be more to come. I'm kind of working on some things in the background, trying to get narrators. They're really expensive if you really want to get a good one. And so there's some really talented people out there. So I want to pick the right person for each book now that matches the style of what you're reading or what you would read.
Yep.
So there'll be more to come.
Because I know I've talked to Tammy about this before. It's like a narrator of an audiobook can either enhance the book or they can literally slaughter it.
Yep.
So,
Right. Yeah.
So I learned a lot from Floor 4 when I put it out there as far as narrators and how to look for them. So I've learned a lot. So I'm really taking my time on because the first hunt will be the next one that's going to be on audio. It's shorter, and a lot of people won't get those with their credits at Audible. A shorter book, they want a longer book for their credit. But I think just having them out there just makes it, it's just another avenue that they can take in your work,
Hey, Junior and Richard.
What the hell? Maddie.
Is that hands?
This one is painting she did. Yeah, but
How long
look
did it
at
take
it.
you to
Looks
do
like
that one?
trees. How long
I'm trying to take it in.
Junior, there's the And there's the cover of your next book.
Here's your cover. Look at this one. All black, and then she put a little bit of white on it. Yeah.
So that's actually white paint, or is that where she did the black?
Yeah, it's black with white paint. She actually did these herself to hang on her wall. She even got the hammer and the nails and put them on her wall.
Oh, Maddie. So it's so funny because Junior, who I can't get back into the realm of horror. So Junior, who narrated Floor 4? Who read it?
A man by the name of Kevin Thies, I think that's how you say his last name.
So now, how do I want to ask this? So when you're approached to do one of your books in an audio format, Bruce and I were talking about this the other day, you don't have to answer this if you don't want, but do you have to pay for your book to be put into an audio format? And when you decide to say, yes, I agree to one of my books being turned into an audio book, do you listen to different people is it like an audition for a movie or a role?
Pretty much, yes.
How do you pick that?
So I use Find Away Voices. So they're a distributor, but they have a pool of narrators or actors is what they call them, because that's what they're doing. So I can go in there and listen to bits and pieces of their work and decide if I want. So you give them an audition. So you're going to end up sending them like a page of work, and they're going to read from your book, and that way you kind of learn if they're going to match your style, and then you decide which one you want, and then they'll take the book and then they'll produce it. They do all the work. They produce it, and that's what you're paying for. Not just the reading of it, but they're going to produce the audio file that you're going to end up using. So they do audition. To answer your question, they do audition, and that's what they call it, pretty much an audition.
And then where are they done? I mean, did they do them here? Are they done here in the United States, or do they do those? Where do they do them?
Yeah, I guess they have their own studios, because there's some that are, they're in an enclosed room. I've heard of some narrate inside their bedroom closet if it's big enough to block sound out. But I think you got to have a good mic, and they also have the technical skills to do the audio trimming, and you know how you do with videos.
Yeah.
This guy did a really good job on all of that part, the technical side of it too. So
I'm gonna have to look that up, because I'm really addicted to audiobooks lately. And I think I've told you before, I was never one to be able to be read to, because I hated to be read to. I couldn't take in a story so when a book is done in audio format, do they have a time limit, or do you set the time limit, or does your publisher?
So when you communicate with the person that you selected, the actor, he generally will tell you it's going to take me so and so much time to do it, because they're not working. They may be working different projects, but they tell you specifically for yours. I can't remember how long Floor 4 took, but it didn't take that long at all. Really, It wasn't that long of a process, because I think they want to get that done and get on to the next project. So,
Oh, well, I'm going to have to look that up when we get done here, because that would be a good one to actually listen to.
Yeah. And he, Kevin had done different genres, but he kind of had the voice to match what I wanted. So, it was a learning process for me.
Leslie says, great. Thank you. Richard would be a good narrator. I don't know. Leslie, it's kind of funny. I do love to read to people, but I could do Purgatory, or I could do Floor 4. But Leslie, I don't know if you've ever read this, but this one, I don't know if I really don't know if I could read Floor 4 out loud without. But I guess that's all part of the, the acting and reading the thing. But yeah, that would actually be kind of cool. So then I've asked you this before. Now is having an audio book version of one of your books the same? Does an author do you get paid per? I mean, because like I pay for Scribd. So how does that work from the author's side where I just pay a monthly fee? How does an author get paid for their works when you submit something to Scribd? And can you pick where your audiobook is listened?
Yes.
You can.
So like I said, I use Find Away Voices, so their distribution channel, and so you can select where you want it to go, or you can unselect. So different places, there's different. So if they end up in a library or a subscription service, you get a percentage of the royalties that come back.
Mm-hmm.
On Audible, I didn't know this until I got paid with it, but if someone signs up for Audible and they pick your book first as their first book, you get a bounty fee, and it's $50. So that's way more than you're getting for just the normal payout would be. And I didn't know what that was, so I talked with the people at Audible. It was Amazon.
Excuse me.
And they told me that's what it was. It's called a bounty. So if someone goes in there and gets their first rental or subscription, you get a bounty fee for that.
Oh,
that's
wow.
I remember.
So when we were talking, when somebody asked earlier, if this was your full-time job, sorry, my eyes are running from my allergies, but it's kind of, I mean, compared to today when everything is digital, compared to back even in the 80s and 90s when you had to literally go to a bookstore and buy a book.
Right.
It's kind of sad for the author's side, because now I think of how many audiobooks I listen to in a week, through my Scribd account, but I would rather have a physical book format to hold in my hand. But that's a good point, because I had no idea that kind of stuff worked like that. I didn't know that the audio book was done that way. But
yeah, it's when I was first getting into it, it's a learning process, because I didn't know what I was getting into or how you went about it. So I did some research and things like that. But I'm like you, I like a physical book. Mm-hmm. And I think most horror fans like to read books, and maybe not on the ebook side of it, but it's the business we're in. So if you can, you have to, put your stuff out there in all the different formats for people to consume. So, but I do like the physical books better myself. And I'd rather hand somebody a physical book than tell them, here's a download file for the ebook,
So Leslie, who's that going to? You have a great voice. Is that going to me, or is that going to Junior? Probably Junior. So Junior, I'm going to let you go really quick here because I know it's getting late. But I have a question here that's coming through a translator. So Maria in Germany, I have to read this as it comes through my translator. Otherwise, I would just put it on the screen. I think what she's asking. What? Okay, don't let me screw this up here. Trying to think of a way to read this because it doesn't make sense to me. And I should know. Oh, wow. Okay, hang on here a sec. Maria, hang on. Maria, I'm trying to. Okay, so she says when a book gets published in another country, do you have control of what is edited, or does the book come out in your original form? Good question, because I've never thought of that.
Yeah. So if it's distributed and mostly through Amazon, can go to different countries. It's the exact same book as that you're reading in the United States. Now, if you go in to get it translated, then that's a whole different thing, and that's a whole different publishing account and everything like that. if you get it put in their country's language, like if you did it in German, that's a whole different thing. But in that case, you have to have a good translator to make sure that they're capturing what you're saying.
Yeah, because she also just typed, she said, as here in Germany, as in parts of the UK and other parts of the world, there are limits to what can be told or written in horror. Is that true in America? That's a good question, because we don't, what's the word?
Limit.
Censor.
Yeah, censor. Thanks, Tammy. We don't censor.
No.
So when you publish a book, and like it does get published in another country, if they have, limits on violence and horror, or do you have control of what's cut out of your book?
Oh, so I understand the question a little bit better now. I've never had to deal with that, or I've never known that it could get censored there. So I've never put a different version out for different countries. It's always been the same until somebody tells me that you need to change it, or you have to take this or that out. I haven't known about it.
Oh wow, that's pretty. It's pretty interesting, because she just said when Jaws was published in 1972, it was extremely edited and censored here in Germany. Wow.
Sad.
Yeah, because you've read the book Jaws by Peter Benchley, haven't you?
Yeah. Searching for it too.
Yeah, that would fall under horror. But remember the relationship between Brody and the Brody's wife and Brody's listen to me, Brody's wife. Oh my God, yeah, Brody's wife. I meant to say husband, but yeah, Ellen Brody had the sexual affair that was so graphic in that book, and
not even in the movie at all.
Yeah, there was nothing in the movie at all. So that's a good question, Maria. I'm sorry it took me so long to translate it, but yeah, that's.
But I think over in the foreign country, if you have a publisher that's from there and you're going through them and you hand them your book, they may tell you, okay, we got to take this out, take that out. Mm-hmm. I've never changed mine because anyone's told me or anything like that, or maybe it, but I think if you go with a publisher that lives there and they know the culture and the laws or the censorship part of it, that might be so. And then I would have to decide, okay, that's not going to be the same book. I'd rather not publish it then. Yeah. And you would have to make a decision then. They can't control it unless you give them the rights to control
control it.
Yeah.
Because Tammy, your stuff isn't censored either, is it?
No. Not at all.
Leslie, sorry, I have the hiccups, you guys. Leslie said, excuse my typo, and Richard, you have a great voice. Thanks, Leslie. Leslie said she prefers a physical book too. I think most people do, but in today's world of, since COVID 3 years ago, I mean, everybody's lives have completely changed. But yeah, it's completely changed today's times and stuff.
Well, the consumption is like now. Everything is fast now with our phones and everything. So an ebook just makes it, you just click a button and you have it instead of waiting a day to get it in the mail. I think it's fun to get, well, you do, Richard, your mail with books in them. Mm-hmm. Even though if you know what's coming, it's just fun to open it up and hold that book. So,
it is fun to open it up, and it's fun to actually hold that, whether it be a cup, a T-shirt, a book, anything. It's just that I want it now, and I want it. It's kind of like Veruca Salt and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah,
I've got to have a golden egg now, Daddy. But yeah, it is. It's just it's a completely different time. Today's fast-paced world, but
and it could be a generational thing too. We're in this generation, and you have the younger the generation. They have less time for that. I'm surprised that the younger generation, I get a smile on my face when the younger generation, like Maddie's age, wants to read a book, because I think it's going to become a lost art at some point, holding a book, you're going to see a shelf like that, 50 years from now, what's that?
Mhm.
You know, it might turn out that way because everything's
Yeah.
electronic. But I hope
So
that
Maddie, this is a question for you. It's funny that Junior brings that up because Maddie, I'm sure you have, well, I know you do. I know you have your own cell phone and you have a tablet and stuff. Maddie, do you prefer to pick up like the books that you and I have been talking about, you know, K.R. Alexander or Mary Downey, anybody, any of the, even one of Junior's books, if you've read his stuff. Maddie, do you prefer to pick up a book and read it, or would you rather read a book on your tablet or your phones?
I would prefer to like pick up a book and just start reading it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good
I
job.
like
Good
that.
job. How many Maddie, tell Junior well, Junior, remember when we were a kid, this, and Tammy can remember this too because now Maddie does it. So remember when we were in school and we had the Scholastic book fairs?
yes,
Yeah, so I think it's great when I'll talk to Maddie and Tammy, and you know, Maddie will say, "Oh, we're having the Scholastic book fair this week in school," and I think it's great when a kid, whether they're a Maddie's age, 11, or even a 5-6-year-old kid who's in kindergarten, and they bring home that book, and like you said, it's a lost part of childhood, I think, and
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it's great that we haven't lost. It's sad that we don't have the bookstores that we used to anymore,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's funny because a lot of people are chiming in now saying, "Yeah, I always prefer a book." Thomas
Well,
said,
you know that Maddie's grandmother, every year since she was little, has given her, she would wrap books for an advent calendar. And so starting December 1st, she opens a book a day. And this has been going on, since she was little.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah, I think it's very, very cool. But I have got to wrap this up because we have an appointment at 8:00. So I do have to get off of here. But you guys, I want to tell everybody thanks that stopped by. Junior, I still I think the world of you, man. You're very talented. I love the way you can scare the shit out of me. But everybody, all of you that are out there watching, and right now there's 43 people watching. So you guys can pull up this man's writings and his works, his books, anywhere, wherever you get books. Just type in A. Lopez Jr. But like we were talking earlier, you know, you guys, we need to support our authors and our people that still to this day take pen to paper and write and express their talents to us, because we're the people that love to get scared. And dude, I want to tell you, just don't stray from horror, because
I'm not. Don't worry,
Junior, you do it so well. And Tammy and Maddie, I'm going to tell you thanks so much for popping in and staying with us the whole entire time.
you.
But Thomas and Maria and Alex and Leslie and Kelly and Christy and Roger and Maltix, Andrew, Stephen, all of you guys, thanks for stopping by. I will do this again. I always I love to be able to just connect with Junior or any, you know, and just get into this man's brain. But I want to tell you thanks for taking the time out of your day. And
Richard, I want to tell you, I want to thank you for having me on, and not just for me, but for the other writers that you've had on before in the past. I mean, the service that you're doing for us as writers, it's nothing I can never give you enough thanks for it, because
it's all my pleasure. It's just getting to know you over the last couple of years and experiencing what's in that crazy brain. But I've got you in my home, and not to brag, but everybody, Junior does have. I took the cover of his first book here, Purgatory, and I turned it into a piece of art that he has got matted and framed, and so
beautiful. It's beautiful.
So we share each other's talents. Yours is far beyond what I've done, but I just want to tell you again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, and everybody out there, just stop by Amazon or wherever you get your books and just look up A. Lopez Jr. If you've never read him, be ready, because some of them are easy to read, some of them are very disturbing, and some of them will definitely scare the hell out of you. But
Thank you.
I want to say thanks again, and Maddie and Tammy, thanks for stopping by. But Junior, I don't want to wait again so long before we do this again. We're going to have to come up with a subject or something. So, but I still want to pick that brain, and I want to get in there with a little bug and just like plant it under the skin there. But you guys, thanks again so much. So Tammy and Maddie, I'm going to pop you guys out of here first. So take care, Maddie and Tammy. And
nice to see you again.
Right, you
Junior,
too.
hang around because I still want to tell you something. But Maddie and Tammy, thanks. And you guys take care. I'm Richard with Nightmares Anyone, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
See ya.
All right. Bye, honey. Okay, Junior, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
So,